Over to you, Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prayasa Saravo Loke Prayar Dvandvesu Yojitaha Navyantanti Narisyanti Yata Atma Gunasrayaha. Generally, the transcendentalist, even though engaged by others in the dualities of the material world, are not distressed, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendently engaged. Purport. The transcendentalists are the empirical philosophers, the mystics, and the devotees of the Lord. Empirical philosophers aim at the perfection of merging into the being of the Absolute. Mystics aim at perceiving the all-pervading supersoul, and devotees of the Lord are engaged in transcendental loving service of the personality of Godhead. Since Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are different phases of the same transcendence, all of these transcendentalists are beyond the three modes of material nature. Material distresses and happinesses are products of the three modes, and therefore the cause of such material distress and happiness have nothing to do with the transcendentalists. The king was a devotee and the rishi was a mystic. Therefore, both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the supreme will. The playful child was an instrument in fulfilling the Lord's will. Omigyan timidandasya gina jina salakaya chaksun militam yena dasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhustam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Vidam Mayam Dasi Swam Padantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Name Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pacha Patitanam Bhavane Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now this particular purport is really deep in the understanding of bhakti. That in the absolute sense, and make that a mental note, in the absolute sense, everything is perfect. Although perfection and imperfection is seen within the context of material definition, within the higher realm of understanding, everything is perfect. Because everything is working according to the arrangement by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, good and bad have no meaning in any particular situation, because all of it is part of the perfect design of the absolute truth. How we perceive things is the difference between our elevation in spiritual life and our confusion based on accepting and rejecting things according to certain standards of morality, spirituality, and you might say even civility. In other words, on the highest platform, and this is what we're talking about, because here the thing is that although this incident has so many criticisms of both of the players involved, ultimately it says both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the supreme will. The supreme will is always working in all aspects of existence. Whether how we connect with that supreme will is the difference between our understanding of what's happening and how to benefit from that, and not understanding, and how to remain confused on the platform of duality of accepting and rejecting. So ultimately, in this particular case, this particular pastime of the implication of Maharaj Parikshit and some wrongdoing ultimately has no meaning at all, because he did nothing wrong, nor did the sage do anything wrong, nor did the child do anything wrong. All of it was part of a higher principle of the Lord's will to bring about ultimately the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in one sense, no one's to blame for anything. In another sense, there is blame depending on the different levels of how you perceive this particular activity. So in one sense, we cannot jump to the absolute principle, just like it says that nobody dies, right? There's no such thing as death. Death doesn't exist, because what dies is already dead, and what is living can never die, in the sense that the soul is, or the spiritual energy, is never born or never created or never ceases to exist. And the material energy is created in relationship to the combination of materials that have no life at all. That is, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. They have no existence. They're simply matter, or you might say inert activities or inert elements. They're given life by the presence of the spirit. So in one sense, everything material has no life, and everything spiritual has life. And when spiritual combines with material, material looks like it has life, but it doesn't, because it's only its connection with the spiritual. That's all. It moves, it changes, it acts, it does different things, it begins, it ends, it grows, it diminishes. These are all symptoms of the material energy when it's touched by the spiritual energy on all of these things. But in and of itself, it is simply dead matter. Of course, Krishna has created all of these elements as one of his energies to create the situation to allow for the living beings to enjoy something that they think they can enjoy but cannot enjoy. That is matter. We cannot enjoy something that is opposite of our existence, because we are living beings and matter is simply dead. But we enjoy the matter when it's connected with the spirit, but we're actually enjoying the element of the spirit, which gives some kind of animation and activity to the matter. And it's simply a reflection of the reality in the spiritual world. So in this particular pastime, this is the most absolute principle of understanding that everything ultimately is perfect. There is no imperfection in God's creation. But if we act in that platform and think that it doesn't matter what I do because everything is perfect, then that's another form of illusion, because we have to act according to the pattern that the Lord has set up for our behavior and activity. Otherwise, we are outside of that, and we create a certain dichotomy, which brings about what's the word? Undesirable results. It's just like, if you have a machine and you buy the machine, say you buy a computer, and then along with computer there is a set of rules how to operate the computer, certain things that you shouldn't do, otherwise it'll impair the operation of the computer. So you follow that. And if you follow that, everything is, the computer works according to how it's supposed to work. So this material energy and the influence of the spiritual energy on the material energy has a certain way of working. And if we don't follow that and we create our own ideas on how it should be seen, then we create this illusion and we get a result that is either unpleasant or temporarily present and ultimately diminished in the element of time. So you can't blame anyone, but at the same time, you can't say it doesn't matter what you do. Because you might say, well, if nobody dies, then I can just kill you because you don't really die anyway. That would be ludicrous, right? Because ultimately there is a reason behind the existence of someone's life. If you interfere with that reason, although that person doesn't die, that person goes on to another situation, but that's not God's arrangement. You're interfering with the actual arrangement of the Lord and creating something that is illusionary and has no connection to anything beneficial. So here, I'm just using these analogies and comparisons to show ultimately that this particular pastime was an orchestration by the Lord for a higher purpose. And Krishna does that. He takes what apparently is a deviation and turns it into something beneficial. And in this case, he was directly involved. In other cases, his energies may also be directly involved, and him and not him. So what was his desire? To free Maharaj Parikshit from his material responsibilities and give him the opportunity to attain the position of pure devotional service and return to the spiritual world. For the for bringing in Kali Yuga, the Lord allowed this pastime to help so Kali could make its advent and to begin the next age of Kali Yuga. So that was also perfect. And the other ultimate aspect is that Hare Krishna. Be polite. The other aspect is that it gave the world the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So ultimately, everything is perfect in that sense because it is the design of the Lord. But you take that same understanding and apply it to anything, you can see behind it is the design of the Lord, either directly or through his different energies like that. So how do we see this particular pastime? Ultimately, we can see it from different levels, from different angles of vision, from different levels of realization and understanding. But here is the absolute thing. Therefore, both of them, because the king was a devotee and the rishi was a mystic, in other words, both of them were situated in their proper position as devotees or transcendentalists. That's the word. Both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the supreme will. So how can something appear to be accidental and at the same time created by the supreme will? That's just for a clarification that for those who want to see it that way, it was accidental. But ultimately, it wasn't accidental because it was created by the supreme will. And so this particular pastime has so many different aspects to it that we can learn from. And the main thing is that um, the world got the chance to now hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami. And Maharaj Parikshit, the great devotee of the Lord, perfect in all respects, was able to go back home, back to God, and attain the perfection of existence. So here, and Prabhupada, just to go back to the purport a little bit, Prabhupada says the empiric philosophers, that's the Gyanis, the mystics, that's the yogis, the devotees, that's the transcendentalists, or the bhakti yogis. These are the different aspects that people, or different levels that people approach the absolute truth. But the absolute truth is not three, it's one. How you approach it, just like you might see a person, and a person may be seen by different people in different ways, but that person is only one. He may be seen as what he does as an occupation. He may be seen how he is in the family. He may be seen from how his friends relate to him, but still, he's one person. So the absolute truth is one, but at the same time, one can approach the absolute truth on different levels. And according to that approach and the success of that endeavor, one gets a particular results. So the devotees, their approach is they worship the Supreme Lord as the absolute lovable personality of Godhead. They serve him in that mood and to please him and ultimately connect with him and purify their existence and ultimately achieve his association in the spiritual world. The Gyanis, the empiric philosophers, they get freedom from material suffering, but again, they fall back down to the material energy to take up other activities in due course of time. The yogis, they develop great power, can manipulate the material energies, and can see within the hearts of all living entities that God is there. They connect with God within the heart. They're in a much better position than the Gyanis, but still, they haven't reached the perfectional stage of loving devotional service. Okay, so this is a nice summation, interesting summation by Srila Prabhupada of this whole pastime in this last verse here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. So nicely summarizing the last verse. And devotees, if you have any comments, question, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask. You can either type in the chat box and I can read it for you. And it'd be nice to have your cameras on if you can. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sridhari Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Satyabhama. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. As you were speaking, Guru Maharaj, I was thinking about these empiric philosophers, that is the Gyanis, the mystic yogis who are trying to perceive the Paramatma. But we don't really come across such. In today's world, it's all atheists, agnostics, some weird philosophy, and so on. So, where are these people who are trying to merge into the Brahman or perceive the super soul? Where are these varieties of transcendentalists? We never come across them in day-to-day, dealings.
No, they exist, but they're more in a secluded type of environment. You don't find them in the general mass of people. There are yogis who live in the Himalayas. If you go to Kumbh Mela, that's when you'll see all of them. They come. That's the time when they all gather for Kumbh Mela, and they come out of their different enclaves in different places within the either the Himalayas or in various holy places.
But they are also called
Because they don't associate with the general mass of people. We associate with the general mass of people because we preach. That's why. Otherwise, we don't associate either. You're on mute now.
You're on mute, Mataji.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj. My question is, why are they classified as transcendentalists?
Because they're approaching the absolute truth, which is transcendental.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Absolute truth is one, but it can be approached in three different ways. And the best example is a mountain from a distance. When you see a mountain from a long distance, you might think it's a cloud. So that's the Gyanis. When you come closer, you see it as a mountain, but it just looks like a mountain, that's all. And then if you go onto the mountain, you see that there's activities, there's people, there's some other things happening. That's the devotees. So the same mountain is perceived in three different ways by three different types of people who approach the mountain from a certain distance. That's all.
So then the Gyanis, the yogis, and the Bhakti yogis are transcendentalists. What about the Karma yogis? What classification are they in?
They're mixed. Because they still have desires for getting some material results from their activities. That is called Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Bhakti that's mixed with these. They're not pure Jnanis, they're not pure yogis, they're not pure transcendentalists, they're mixed. They still have material attachments. You keep going on mute, Sri Devi.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gurudev. I don't know why that's happening. My apologies. But thank you for clarifying because I'm still trying to understand all the different levels of the yoga ladder. So that's why I'm asking this question. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah, you can read the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter.
Right.
And a lot of it's mentioned in the 10th canto, 14th chapter by Lord Brahma also.
Thanks, Mataji. Thanks, Maharaj. Any other devotees? So while we're waiting, I've got a question, Maharaj. I've got two questions. So one is related to what Mataji has asked. So when we have Gyan Mishra Bhakti and Karma Mishra Bhakti as well, so does the Bhakti devotees also have we do have we also have material desires. So Bhakti can be Mish for the in Bhakti Yoga as well. It will be a mixed Bhakti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, we think we're devotees, but still we have material desires. Bhakti starts when you're free from all material desires. That's where bhakti starts.
It starts.
Yeah, we're still trying to begin.
Sense. Thank you. And I had another question, Maharaj. When you started the class, you said that good and bad has no meaning, and I was just thinking of our my own circumstances or how it happens in devotees' life, that something small happens and we say why me, why us, so it takes a long time to come to that understanding that good, bad, heat and cold and man and upman, all these things does not make any sense. Like, for example, for Parikshit Maharaj and Shamika Rishi, for them, it just, because they were at the pure level, it didn't make them much difference. But what is the process to, to progress in that particular, when you don't feel this bodily things which affects us so quickly and easily?
Krishna says, one who sees me and everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. When we don't see Krishna in everything, then we see duality. That's all. That means we're seeing material. A situation might occur, and then a devotee will think, well, why is it have happened? And how can I use it to make advancement in Krishna consciousness? I mean, if you get sick and you get cancer and the doctor says you only have a month to live, you might think, why me? Or another person might think, wow, great. Here's my opportunity to finish up and go back home, back to Godhead. So two people perceiving the same thing in different ways. Is it good or is it bad? For devotee, everything is an opportunity for spiritual advancement. It
So
takes
basically to start.
some intelligence. That's why Prabhupada said it takes to execute this process, you have to have some intelligence. If you don't sharpen your intelligence through hearing from the great souls and reading the books and chanting the holy name, then you'll somehow or other be bewildered by what's happening or what doesn't happen. There's a reason behind everything. Just like, I'll give you an example. I was in Dallas this last week. So there were some lightning storms, some really heavy lightning storms. So it was around the time I was giving a class, and one lightning bolt, I thought it was right next to me. It hit, and it was such a loud cracking sound. But then later on, we looked out the window, and there was a house on fire. And so it was about a block away from where we were. So in that house was in the middle of other houses, which were very close. So there was a series of houses together, one after another, and they were really close together. But this one house burnt down practically completely. The other house, one house on the side got a slight little damage, and the other house on the other side, nothing. So why that house? You might ask, why out of all of those houses that were there or in that whole area, why that house? We can't answer that. We can't come up with the reason, but there is a reason.
So it goes back to our karmas, basically, that what we have done, what we'll have to come back and suffer.
It's either karma or the Lord's will, either one.
Either one. Yes.
Which doesn't matter for us, because ultimately we can benefit in both ways.
Thank you.
Radhanath Swami tells one story of his personal experience before he became a devotee. He was traveling in India and going through different ashrams. And then he was meeting different yogis. And he was collecting, or you might say, really getting a lot of understanding about yoga from different spiritualists, sadhus, saints, yogis. And there were always books that he would pick up from these different ashrams. And he was living on the banks of the river. He wasn't living he would never sleep inside. He was sleeping on the banks of the holy river every night. And whatever little possessions he had, he was carrying with him. And that's how he lived for almost 2 years. And then he was getting all of these books. And he explains, he was telling us the story, how more and more books were coming because he liked everyone that he came across. And then, but it became a burden for him to carry these books. So, although he was trying to move around fast and go from place to place and live very simply, he kept getting more and more books. And it was hard to carry after a while. And so, but he kept the book because he was, as he was explaining, he would look at the different books and say, well, see which ones he could give up. But he liked all of them, and he could never give up any of them. So one night when he went to sleep, he, his books were next to him. When he woke up, the books were gone. All of the books were gone. Somebody had come and taken them. And then at first he said, oh my God, my books are gone. But then he thought, but now I can travel nicely.
That's a very nice example. Thanks for sharing, Guruji. Thank you.
Oh my God, all my money is gone. Now I don't have to worry about money. Hey, wonderful.
I'll pray for this thought to come one day in my mind.
So what is good and what is bad for a devotee? Everything is good. Because there's some way a devotee can benefit from every situation.
Any questions from devotees? So I'm just carrying on this same point, Maharaj, thinking about the pastime of the... Okay, Amrita Mataji, please go ahead. Sorry. We can't hear you, Mataji. Maybe you're on mute. From the laptop is on mute. Maybe, I'm not sure. Zoom is not on mute. Yes, can hear you now. If you can increase the volume a little bit.
Can you hear now?
Yes, that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Okay. So please continue because you are continuing the same point. I'll ask after that.
Oh, no, you go on. I can ask later on. You
Okay.
get the points.
Okay, sure. My humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the present Vaishnavas. So you mentioned that we are also not supposed to associate with the general mass of people just because for the preaching purpose we are associating. So amongst the devotees, there are also, along with brahmacharis, there are grihasthas also, and they have the social life also. So does that apply in that sense also, that we are supposed to stay unattached even as grihasthas, even living in the same mass of people?
You have to learn how to associate and not be contaminated by that association. And that we've explained so many times in our discussions. What is association? How to associate? What to avoid in that proximity of others who are materialistic inclined. We've talked about that so many times. So, but I'll give you just the general answer. You have to somehow or other catch the fish and not get wet.
Right.
if you become contaminated by that association, or it takes your bhakti down for whatever reason, then you still don't understand what it means to associate. But
Right.
I mean, it's not easy, of course. Not easy.
Yes, Gumaraj, that's what I was thinking. There's so many chances for them to go at the karma yoga level.
And then, well, but the solution is Srila Prabhupada's formula: build these farm communities, create environments for the grihastas where they can live simply within their own environment with other grihasta families, raise children, grow food, and live according to Krishna's way for simple living and practice of Krishna consciousness. That's the ultimate solution, and that will become more and more the need of the time as material energy becomes more and more, what we say, dangerous as time goes on, dangerous in interfering with whatever we want to do in order to live nicely. So Prabhupada had that vision. You know, we should be self-sufficient and not depending on the external world for our livelihood, nor for education of our devotees or our children. There's groups who are like that, but we haven't come to that level of development yet as a society, although there are many devotees that are doing it. But in the meantime, until you get there, and you have to make sure you don't become, your spiritual life doesn't become jeopardized or hampered by the interaction with the non-devotees. Therefore, Prabhupada used to say, in that association, you give your association, you don't take their association. If you can't do that, then don't associate at all.
Thank you, Gumaraj. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Amrita Mataji. Somadatri Mataji, please go ahead.
Somadatri, Haribo, wow. And you have,
Haribol, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all Vaishnava. Only I have one question.
okay.
One question from previous verses. And this is when Shamika Risha didn't respond and greet Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was angry and envious. I disunderstand that he was angry, but how to understand envious in this case? I would like more about envious to learn, to see, and this how to understand why angry is, but why envious. How to understand? Thank you.
You might say because the rishi was in a higher position within the Varnashram scale. He was a Brahmin, and Maharaj Parikshit was a Kshatriya. So that envy was that he saw that the rishi was proud or thinking that he was better. And so, but he wasn't thinking like that. Maharaj Pariksit mistakenly thought like that. And therefore, he acted in a way that was envious. Oh, you think you're such a great personality. Here is your garland.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm. But that was also created to bring Maharaj Pariksit to get detached and ultimately get cursed and get detached. But the Rishi, if you go back to the few previous verses that we just completed, he never thought like that. He thought, how is it that we have cursed such a great personality as Maharaj Pariksit?
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Amiratri Maharaji. Mataji. Maharaj, there is a question from, not a question, comment from Vrishabh Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear Gurudeva and Vaishnavas, all glory Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the points that everything is perfectly arranged by Krishna, ultimately, and reminder that matter is dead, but by itself always, and the soul is moving it. So if a disease comes, that is only change in the death matter. Much appreciated. Yes, Mataji. Yes, Tripti Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, obeisances to Gurudev, and my Hare Krishna and obeisances to all Vaishnava. Just something on a lighter note, weekend approaching. So as Gurudev gave the good example, made us smile. This morning I had that feeling about material energy and this disassociation and all that, because I had this unfortunate car accident a few weeks ago, and I was dealing with all the situation with insurance company and all that. And afterwards, I phoned my son and I said, I'm going away for 2 weeks. And when I come back, I'm going to renounce everything because I cannot deal with this. And when I'm reading my Bhagavatam or my Bhagavad Gita every day, and I said, I can't absorb because all these things and energy in my head. And I said, I feel I don't have a lot of time to capture that I have missed all this time I didn't come to Krishna consciousness. So I said, these things are taking my energy and taking everything from me. And I can't deal with this. And I'm going to renounce myself when I come back after 2 weeks.
Good. Just keep distant. Keep.
So yeah. So what you said today again, it makes so much sense that if you can't associate and disassociate, if you can get wet getting the fish, don't do that. Make sure you get the fish and don't get wet. And if I can't do it, so that is my today's motto from today onwards, that I'm going to do. If I can, because I want to put more energy into Krishna consciousness and my service, rather than dealing with all these things. So I'm going to start cutting all this back if I can, and if Krishna allows me to, so I can associate more and pay more attention in the classes. Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Thank you. That's a message for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tripti Mataji. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, so there is one more comment from Rishabh Prabhu. I'll just read it. It is a similar situation when the 4 Kumaras curse the doorkeepers, Vaikuntha-vasis. It would be impossible otherwise for Mayavadi Brahmanas from material world to curse someone from the spiritual world. I hope I got it right.
They're not Mayavadi Brahmanas. That part is wrong. They were Brahmavadis. They had realized the Brahmin. They were not Mayavadis. Mayavadi is a type of impersonalist. They were impersonalists, but they were not Mayavadis. But everything else you said is, yeah. It was the Lord's arrangement in that case also, because he wanted to come to the material world and fight. So he can't fight. In order for him to fight, he has to go to the material world, because in the spiritual world, there is no demons to fight with. Prabhupada said Krishna likes to flex his muscles, so he needs a little workout. The material world is where everybody fights, so. But his fighting brings that opponent to a higher stage of spiritual realization. So yeah, that was correct. The only point is don't call the Kumaras Mayavadis. They're not Mayavadis. That would be quite offensive to call them that. They were Brahmavadis and not Mayavadis.
I hope that answers your question, Rishabh Prabhu. Thank you. And just a comment on this, Maharaj, that I was listening in one of the class that Kamsa had the strength of 10,000 maddened elephant. And when I heard that, I was thinking, and I was looking at Krishna's picture, and I was thinking how delicate Krishna looks, and how did he fought with Kamsa and killed him? So strong, and we hear the glories of Ravana and Kamsa, both of them, all the demons, but Krishna looking so delicate and soft, and but he fought with.
He picked up Govardhan Hill with the pinky of
Yeah.
it. But that's nothing. He's through his energies, everything is happening automatically. He's the supreme power in existence.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Maharaj. I'm not sure if there is any other questions, last minute question. Otherwise, we can, if Maharaj, if you have time, we can do one round of japa. If that's.
Well, things are tight on this time for me here, so
Okay.
I'll have to pass. But well, let's see. Srimati, is she there? No.
No, not today. I think.
Okay, well, Balaji is there. We can just tell Srimati that I won't be doing the class tomorrow.
Yeah, sure, Maharaj. I'll convey.
Okay, thank you. But should be back on Sunday.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time and association, Guru Maharaj. So thanks, devotees, for joining. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
God ki jai.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.